Education regular meeting Monday, February 13th, 2023. The Board of Education makes available at least one current copy of the Open Meetings Act, which is posted on the west wall of the meeting room and accessible to members of the public. Please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 approve the consent agenda as presented. Approval of the agenda as submitted. Approval of minutes of the regular Board of Education meeting on January 9th, 2023. Approval of the proposed accounts for payment. Approval of budgetary receipts and expenditures for January 2023. Approval of Committee of the Whole minutes, February 2nd, 2023. Approval of option students. Approval of resignation of Roy Ferens, Director of Buildings and Grounds, and excuse the absence of Eric Trustee.
Do you have a financial report?
I do. So for the treasurer's report for the month of January, bills for the month of January were $910,553. Payroll for the month of January was $1,713,692.64, which brought total expenses to $2,624,246. Just a little budget report for you. Looking into the budget now, we're 5 months into the budget and cycle, so we've expended about 41.19% of the budget, and this is authority only, so it's just talking about the budget authority that we have, and which is 0.46% less than the 41.65% if we were spending 8.33 per month. So the nuts and bolts of it in a nutshell is that we're right on track in terms of what we've budgeted. As we move through the next 7 months, we'll be tracking it closely.
Thank you. Do I have your votes, please, to approve the consent agenda? Motion passes 6-0. And now Mr. Jansen's going to do the Employee of the Month recognition.
Absolutely. So this month's Employee of the Month is Miss Heather Brown.
Oh, that's why you did that.
Can you come join me, please?
Oh my God, that's why we're here? Thank you, Lynn.
Jeremy told her it had something to do with the new school, so I said, you gotta get her here somehow. Can you come with this way? Because the camera's here.
Dressed for this.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow.
All right. So Heather is so deserving of this award because she is incredibly helpful and approaches the students with kindness and understanding. Heather is well liked by students at Stoddard, which is apparent in her interactions with the kids throughout the day. We are very fortunate to have her positive, friendly personality at Stoddard every day. To be a loyal employee throughout the last few years says so much about her commitment to helping children grow. Heather has been an excellent role model in fostering the Orangeman Pride standards and helping students see the importance of demonstrating the Orangeman way on a daily basis. Additionally, last year, after being a para at the best possible summer experience, Heather Brown created and offered great courses and opportunities to help students build their reading skills. With Pete the Cat, students enjoyed working with Miss Heather. Miss Brown is outstanding in building relationships with students and teachers. She is always willing to step up and go the extra mile. Her and Miss Carpenter are an amazing team. When I need something done or put something together, those are the first two that always step up and say that they will do it voluntarily with no questions asked. Miss Brown does not complain about being out in the bitter cold or the hot outside days at recess duty. The students love talking with her. She has been in several meetings with me with students who are upset or letting me know about the needs that become apparent as they trust Miss Brown and they go to her for confidentiality and for assistance. And this only happens because of her willingness to take the extra time to build the relationships and make kids our first priority. Due to this, she has helped myself as well as many students during struggling times. Thank you, Miss Heather, for being part of our BPS family, and congratulations on being February's Employee of the Month.
Wow, thank you. Well, I had no idea. I'm not dressed for that.
And then we get a quick picture this way real quick.
Okay.
All right. Perfect. Make sure you smile.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Oh my goodness.
Next, Mr. Alexander and Dr. Nielsen will do the Business Friend of the Month.
So our business friend of the month is not here this evening. They had other commitments. So we'll just read this from where we're at, and then we'll present the plaque to them when they can come by. But our business friend of the month for February is Nebraska Orthopedic. And we'd like to recognize Nebraska Orthopedic for all the support and oversight that they give of our activities department at BHS. And they've been providing athletic trainer support at our BHS home activities and providing needed care to our activity participants for so many years that nobody could really remember how many years it's been. So I tried to track that down, and with Mr. Brown being fairly new, he wasn't quite sure. So it's been a long time, and we just wanted to recognize them and send a little bit of gratitude for what they do. All of our contact activities, whether it be football, basketball, soccer, any of them, and even some that are non-contact, receive support and coverage by Nebraska Orthopedic. Jason Brueggemann and Chance have come every Tuesday and Thursday to follow up with our BHS participants who have been injured in games and check on them and make sure that they have the training support that they need and give advice to coaches on what needs to continue to happen to support those players. So they've been integral partners in helping us implement and provide the concussion awareness testing and training for our staff, and also monitoring after we have students that have concussions. They make sure and help out and make sure all the tests and everything are done appropriately and read correctly. So, and then they also support our nurses in that regard as well with any injuries that occur to our participants. So we'd like to say thank you to Nebraska Orthopedic for their support of our student athletes. So they're our business friend of the month.
Thank you. We're going to have a slight change in the agenda. We're going to move the one of the administrators' reports to right now, and Mr. Jansen's going to talk to us about building culture.
Kids, if you can come up. And Mrs. Mice and Mrs. Larson. Don't be shy. You guys stand right. I put these four on the spot today, and I did it because I wanted to make sure you had a true understanding of kind of where I'm coming from. I'm in my Jersey hat, and I'm in my Jersey, or it used to be my Jersey shirt. I'm in my new shirt today. It says "As Always," and on the back it says "As always, it's a great day to be an Orangeman." And the staff doesn't know it yet, but every staff member is getting this shirt tomorrow. It's a surprise shirt that I wanted to give them. It's something that we say a lot at Stoddard and Lincoln Elementary. And the photos that you got right in front of you, those are photos that we've taken throughout the year that we talk a lot about building culture and building morale within our building. The strategic plan for the 22 through 27 states in our strategy number 3 to retain, recruit, and develop quality staff, faculty, and admin. It goes beyond just our NSCAS testing, our MAP testing, what we're doing inside the classroom. It's about building relationships, not just in the classroom, but also outside of the classroom. And these kids are going to talk a little bit about that. I have Mrs. Mites as my Stoddard representative. I have Mrs. Larson as my Lincoln representative. One thing that we did working with Chad Dumas over our professional development the last couple of years is he talked to us about building committees within our own building to try to help things in our areas that you know that you want to grow in over time and that are important to you. Well, obviously, school safety and security is my number one thing at both Stoddard and Lincoln. I have a team that works every single month. We meet every month about that. They work with our teaching staff. They work with our kids. They come back to me. We solve problems. For instance, at Stoddard Elementary, we know we haven't been able to afford cameras in there. I went out because of the committee. I bought half a dozen Ring cameras. My phone goes off constantly, any movement. The kids don't think it's funny because I can talk to them through the hallways, and they can be walking down the hallways and they're looking to see where my voice is at. I've had teachers go on their breaks trying to search to see where all my cameras are. It's great. I got every angle that I need now. Drives my wife crazy because my phone goes off like crazy, but it's great. And so Mrs. Larson and Mrs. Mites are in charge of our culture committee, and we meet once a month. They have a group of teachers and paras, secretaries, cooks, custodians that they meet with about how we can improve our school morale-wise, culture-wise, not just for staff, but also for students, because that's why we're here, and that sign says it back there, kids first. And that's exactly why we're here. I'm in this kind of gear because on Friday at Stoddard, we had a Super Bowl day. We had a tailgate party. Mrs. Ferrix is also here, and I had her here because I wanted to give her kudos and shout out because she's the one who put the video together that went on our website, contribute to Cam Jurgens, and it really spoke a lot of volume to our kids because it doesn't matter where you're from, how big a town you are, how little a town you are, it doesn't matter. If you have a dream, dream big and dream great. We talk to our kids, if you want to be a trash man, if you want to be a doctor, lawyer, be the best trash man you can be. Be the best lawyer you can be. Do whatever you want to do and do it and love it and be amazing at it. And we try to stress that all the time. So they've been helping me with building culture. At Lincoln Elementary tomorrow, we're going to have what we call our magical messengers. Our magical messengers are Mrs. Burrish and Miss Kylie Sherling, a paraprofessional, who dress up in whatever holiday it is. So Christmas, we had Mrs. Claus and the elves. Tomorrow, I'm guessing we're gonna have some Cupid and who knows what else. But we had Up on the Shelf, and we've had a great time doing it. And it's just those little things that we're trying to do as a staff and as kids to make our kids not only welcome and wanna come to school, but also keep staff and say, Beatrice is a fun place to work. It's not just about the testing, it's about where we're going, what we're doing, and working for people who know we care. So I'm going to let all four of these talk here just a minute, and if you guys want to, Alexis and Maddie and Kellen and Ethan, tell them your names and then maybe a couple things that you love about school. And Maddie just came to us, and I picked her specifically because she just came to us this year as a 5th grader. And I want her just to kind of talk a little bit about the differences in some of the schools. So Alexis, do you want to talk first? What are some things that you love about school?
I'm Alexis Folkerts, and some things I like about school are that we have lots of teachers that help us and give us time to work. We each have our own computers, which helps a lot. And we get rewarded for the stuff that we do.
Okay, great. Maddie?
My name is Madison Beekman, and I like that we have different teachers and computers to get us ready for middle school and my other school grades.
Kellen?
My name is Kellen Evans, and what I like about school is that how our teachers make things fun for us and how they work so hard to get us ready for middle school.
Yeah, because you guys are in 5th grade, so you do a lot, don't you, with the planners and organizational skills, don't we? Yeah, you were only organized at home in your bedrooms like that, right? All right, Mr. Husa.
Hi, my name is Ethan Husa, and the things I like about school is that there's a lot of teachers to meet, and they help us get ready for middle school.
One thing I ask, and these kids, as you know, probably don't come to my office a lot, but every now and then we do make some mistakes. If I asked you, and I don't want you to answer this just by yes or no, is if I asked you if you have 3 adults within Stoddard Elementary that you could go to for help if you needed to, whether it be a teacher, a para, myself, a custodian, secretary, would you, all of you say yes? That you have 3 people you can talk to? And that's what's important to me, is that they have people that they know they can go to talk to, and it's not just about the computers, although those are fun, right? Because we'd have some fun on those. And Kahoot, is it Kahoot that we play on those games? I play it on my phone, try to play. And you guys have a lot of cool things that you do, right? Okay, Mrs. Larson, do you want to maybe touch on Lincoln Elementary a little bit?
So we're always trying to do things that are creative and hands-on and a little bit more interactive to make the culture and climate of our building a little bit more exciting and welcoming. As staff, we have focused on trying to build a positive and supportive teaching environment. So it's important for our kiddos to feel welcome, and it's also important for our staff members to be included and welcome and encouraged, because teaching is not easy all the time, especially right now. Some of the things we've done is we have in our staff kitchen some buckets that have every staff member's name on them, and we have like a little note station where we can just drop a compliment or something kind to say to someone, just a little morale booster. We've been doing monthly little treats and drinks and lunches and things like that, just to make it
School
a more,
appropriate drinks.
yeah, that's it. Hot cocoa bar and things like that, just to kind of make it feel more like homey and just welcoming. And we have a little holiday get together, just to kind of build sisterhood, brotherhood, whatever,
A lot of
familyhood, whatever it is. Just to kind of team building. So that's what we're working on right now. And we also do, or Mr. Jansen gave us some money so that we can try to incorporate a couple other little like rewards for our class to kind of help build that culture too.
Thank you, Mrs. Bites.
Well, at Stoddard, we have this team too, and we've done kind of the monthly thing too with trying to encourage staff. During parent-teacher conferences last time, we hung coins on the pop machine and grab this bag of coins and you get a pop for free. Now tomorrow, we're starting, a lot of the people don't know yet, but we're gonna bring a cart around and have our character council students bring around treats and iced tea and pop and candy and whatever. And if a teacher isn't busy in a conference, then they'll offer them if they wanted something on it, just to relax, and just kind of a nice way for the teachers to treat them during conferences. We want to plan some things for kids. We haven't told everybody yet, but we want to get them involved this spring and do some fun things with them and teachers at the same time. Same thing, pretty much. We kind of work together as teams, Stoddard and Lincoln, trying to plan some ideas. So theirs is a little different, but we're kind of the same.
Got to go with age level. And today we had Orangeman Pride at Lincoln, and it was the biggest one I've seen in a long time. The gym was packed. We put out 4 or 6 tables, and we had people still standing in the back. It was just really neat to see that opportunity. One of the other things that I love about Lincoln and Stoddard, and I know other schools do it too, is we welcome kids every single morning. We have an adult or kids outside the building every single morning saying good morning and telling them to have a good day. And some kids will give you hugs, some will give you high fives, some will give you fist pounds, some will put their head down and just keep on walking and go check on them later. And you have those. And it's amazing to see. We have kiddos that come in every morning maybe without breakfast, or they're just struggling in the morning, and we know that on a daily basis. So we have those kids come in to special teachers, special helpers, I guess I could say. It could be a parent, it could be a cook, our title teachers, our regular ed teachers, whoever it is, and they just go and they just talk. They eat breakfast together, they do exercises together, they go for a walk together, whatever it may be, just to start their day off positive. And I just wanted to touch base because we always talk a lot about our academic scores and what we need to improve on, but there's always room for improvement. But culture-wise, I would say these 4 will tell you that, hopefully they would tell you that they have 3 adults they can talk to no matter what, and they feel loved and cared for when they walk into our building, and they know that when they leave our building. So we just wanted to touch base on that. So, and as Dr. Nielsen always says, I always find ways to wear jeans in my boots, so we're good finding any kind of damn can for that. So Husker game days, whatever we got. So yeah. So does the Board of Education have any questions for the teachers or the students?
No, but I will say that I've seen the elf on the shelf, and it's pretty awesome, sitting out front.
Yeah. I told her there's not workman's comp if she falls off. So that's it. So yep. All right.
This makes coming to school exciting.
It is. It's fun. You never know what you're going to get.
Surprising.
Me and Miss Bell on top of the roof throwing off some candy with safety harnesses, right, Dr. Nielsen?
Thanks.
To make sure they fall off.
And I'm just really proud of these 4 tonight because they kind of got put on the spot.
I did. I put them on the spot because I didn't want them to practice or not know what to say. I wanted to be open and honest, and they are great kids, just like all of our kids. And we teach every blueberry, and I'm very proud of what they did tonight. So
They did a great job.
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you
very
for
much.
being here tonight.
And now, next up on the agenda is board member recognition with Mr. Alexander.
So, the last week in January was declared Board Member Appreciation Week by Governor Pillen. And we wanted just to take a moment tonight's meeting, public meeting, to recognize our board members and say thank you for all that they do. So we know that many times people look at this position that you're in and they think you show up the second Monday of every month, and that's all there is to it. And you vote and listen to some conversation. But as you know, and Charles and BJ being new to the scene, new to the board members, the board, you know that there's a lot more that goes into it. It's a lot of reading, it's a lot of digesting, it's a lot of thinking on things that are being put in front of you. So it's not an easy job. It's not just one Monday a month. It's typically a Monday and a Thursday, and a lot of things in between. And it seems to hit you at times when you least expect it, and it seems to also be something that you never know what can come your way. But we wanted to say thank you tonight. We did put a recognition thing in the newspaper, and we hope you got a chance to see that as well. So we kind of caught you off guard on that a little bit. But we just want you to know that we appreciate what you do as part of our Board of Education. Helping us solve problems and think through things is what we strive to do, and we appreciate the input that you give to us. So thank you again on behalf of all of us and all of our students at Beatrice Public Schools for agreeing to serve as board members.
Thank you. Next up is the information portion of the meeting. First is a student update with Riley.
The preschool has been a busy place. Students and teachers continue to work on their social skills with the help of Dan St. Romain, who is there to have an in-service with all the PK through 5th grade staffers on Monday. Along with that, preschool staff will also get to have an in-service with Carrie Ebert, who will talk about the importance of language and play. All parents are welcome to hear Miss Ebert on March 7th at the preschool. And registration for next year at the preschool is looking very strong. At Paddock Lane, the house activity for February was to make Valentine's cards for the senior citizens. Students had a great time creating cards with their house family. The March house activity will be a St. Patty's Day surprise, and Valentine's Day parties are being held tomorrow throughout the school. Teachers are preparing for parent-teacher conferences this Tuesday and Thursday, and kindergarten 1st, 2nd, and 3rd are working on their spring music program, which will be presented in the Hevelin Center on Tuesday, March 7th. At Lincoln and Stoddard, they are preparing for music concerts, track and field day, field trips, and state testing. More parent-teacher conferences are this week for them as well. At the middle school, the girls basketball team won the Trailblazer Conference Tournament, and the middle school is holding an attendance challenge for this quarter. And so far, January has had the highest attendance rate of the year. If a mentor begins and ends the day with all of their students, they earn a letter, spell the word orange. And once they complete that word, Hawk and Stengel cook pancakes for their class. 8th graders have begun their registration for high school with the 4 counselors and are preparing for that big step. At the high school, the paper airplane contest that was held at last week's home basketball game raised over $1,300 for Make-A-Wish Nebraska, courtesy of the leadership class. And for wrestling, 2 girls and 11 boys qualified for the state tournament, which is held this weekend at the CHI Health Center in Omaha. Spring sports have started their conditioning in preparation for their seasons, and Student Council is hosting a pep rally tomorrow for the winter sports postseason and a Valentine's Day get-together. State dance and state cheer is also later in the week.
Thank you. Stance report, Mr. Alexander.
Riley, can you believe that spring sports is starting?
I know, I see them conditioning and I'm like, slow down.
The stance report for February, we've met multiple times, and basically at this point in the stance year time frame, we are busy analyzing legislative bills that have been presented and talked about in committees, and right now they're still in committee hearings. So the bills are starting to come out of those committees, and we're tracking those. Just a couple that I will mention to you that were heard today, and then a couple that will be on the docket for tomorrow that have impacts for things that we've talked about at Beatrice Public Schools before. LB 99 by Senator Kavanaugh would provide free breakfast and lunch to all public school students. Schools would be reimbursed by the state for any meal costs that are not reimbursed by the federal school breakfast program, lunch and breakfast program, or summer meals. So basically, if you recall, last summer we talked about the community eligibility program and how it only reimbursed up to a certain percentage. The theory behind this bill is that the state would come in and reimburse the rest of that, and everyone would get a free breakfast or lunch. So, and then it would also be, as far as it would be reimbursed for summer meals too. So, Good bill, we're tracking that to see where it ends up. I think it'll come out of committee. It was heard in committee today, so. LB 201 by Vargas requires all public high school students to complete the FAFSA prior to graduation. It includes an opt-out provision that can be completed by any parent, guardian, or other person standing in loco and parenti to the student. That means just standing in place of the parent. So there is an opt-out form process that's been added to this bill. Originally, we were a little concerned about that because we didn't want it to require undue necessary paperwork for people who aren't necessarily either going to go to college or won't qualify for any FAFSA support. So we were able to work through that in conjunction with Senator Koth to help get some of those things taken care of. Tomorrow, there is LB 630 that by July 1st, 2025, each school board must adopt a written dress code and grooming policy to be implemented at the start of the 25-26 school year that's consistent with a model policy developed by the NDE in accordance with this bill. So that bill is being watched carefully, and it applies probably, it's more specifically geared towards Native American regalia than it is anything else. That's kind of where it's coming from. So, but it could have an effect on all of us, so we'll be paying attention to that. And then LB 487 provides that no Nebraska school receiving public funds may discriminate on the basis of race, religion, color, national origin, ancestry, citizen status, gender, sexual orientation, gender identity, disability, or special education status. So that's kind of a bill that's we're already required to follow anyway. It's a federal law, so it's also now being presented at the state level, which is fine. Then there's 320, Senator Brandt, that is introduced a change to the TIOSA formula. That we're tracking that one as well. And then LB 440, which is also being heard tomorrow, which deals specifically with the special building fund, and then it could not be used for certain purposes that it is being used for right now, and a school district would have to make certain transactions more apparent before they use the building fund. So we're keeping an eye on LB 440 as well. So stance right now is very active in the legislative process, either writing testimony to be submitted in support or in opposition to bills, and also trying to work closely with bills that are being presented to either make them better bills or help along bills that are good that we think have a good impact on education.
Thank you. Negotiations, Mrs. Byers.
The Board of Education Negotiations Committee has met with BEA representatives on 8 different occasions. The Board of Education Negotiations Committee is committed to strategy number 3 in the strategic plan, which is to recruit, hire, and retain qualified staff for Beatrice Public Schools. They also are committed to ensuring that staff is at the midpoint or above the average salary with the 11 other districts within our array. The current base salary for a teacher is $36,725 excluding benefits. The Board of Education has offered an increase of $1,275 with a change in deductible from $1,050 to $1,900, which would bring the base salary to $38,000. The board has offered an increase of $1,275, $1,050 deductible, with employees paying the difference between the $1,050 and $1,900 deductible premiums. This would bring the base to $38,000. Employees would pay 7.44% of the annual premium. And the board has also offered an increase of $800 on the base with a $1,450 deductible, which would bring the base salary to $37,225. All board offers have been opposed by the BEA. BEA offers have ranged from $600 to $1,000 with the deductible remaining at $1,050. The Negotiations Committee wants to ensure a competitive and equitable salary for all certified staff. They are also required to maintain fiscally responsibility to the taxpayer and do what is in the best interest of the financial health of the district. We want to maintain current staffing levels for the benefit of our students and staff. Another meeting is scheduled for February 20th with BEA representatives. In the meantime, I would encourage certified staff to reach out to the BEA representatives to review the options that have been suggested and work toward a resolution. Since we are currently still in negotiations, the board is unable to legally respond to individual teachers regarding negotiated issues.
Thank you. I'll be doing the committee of the whole meeting, which was held on Thursday, February 2nd. There was lots of items discussed, including Dr. Nielsen provided information about the High Ability Learners Program. We also learned about the Youth Frontiers Program, which was presented to 5th, 7th, and 9th graders. Building level administrators spoke very highly of the experience, and I think they would like to do it again. Then we had a district strategic plan update, including talking about new building construction. They participated with the help of Beatrice Community Hospital, a mass influx drill. Strategy 2 involved district-wide social emotional screeners, piloting at the K-5 level, staff wellness. They increased services to Beatrice Community Hospital EAP program and increased use of the EHA wellness program. Strategy 3 included attending hiring fairs and evaluating staff salary schedules, piloting a new mentor program at middle and high school, formative assessment training to identify priority standards for K-5 teachers, PLC leader training. Under Strategy 4, they developed a CTE Career Tech Education Strategic Plan, the PLC data-driven discussions to determine pacing guides and formative assessment schedule. Under Schedule 5, or Strategy 5, PLC leader training was held to provide growth and promoting change and implementation of a professional learning. We also were given an update on the new computer science requirement, and I think that's still under review. It sounded like there may be an extension on that. Mr. Alexander shared that the school attorney is recommending the addition of a statement pertaining to electronic communications at board meetings. We also learned about the fact that Narcan is available at each of the buildings, and currently administrators, nurses, SROSs, and secretaries in all buildings have been trained to use this. All certificated staff and administrators are participated in training provided by the Epilepsy Foundation, and plans have been created for all students who need plans. But then we had a review of calendar options. We reviewed the options for 2023-24 in addition to information on options for the 2024-25 school year, when we will have just one pre-K through elementary site. And then we ended with a discussion on Initiative 433, which requires that, well, it doesn't require schools, but it says that a packet of information pertaining to classified staff pay to raise the minimum wage. So that ends my report. Next on the agenda is public forum. Is there anyone that'd like to speak? Okay. Next up is the discussion portion of the Board of Education meeting. First, Mr. Alexander's going to talk about Policy 5205, Graduation and Regulation 5205, Graduation Requirements.
So as you will recall from our Committee of the Whole meeting, and so I'm just going to be brief, we spoke about graduation requirements that we've been looking at essentially even back since last November when we started the topic of graduation requirements and how we're progressing in those areas. And so the recommended changes that have been made to Policy 5205 remain in there in Spark as you saw them. The addition of the word history in item D, business, 1 semester of personal finance, and then the real big ticket item that we're all waiting on is the computer science that we know is going to be implemented. We're required by state statute or legislative mandate a year ago to implement this, and we're supposed to have it ready to go for the coming school year. But right now there's a legislative bill to push that back for another year. So we'll be waiting for that to see what happens. We will continue to plan as if it were going to be implemented in the coming year, just so if that bill doesn't change, then we're prepared for it. And some options that we've talked about are, including that 8th grade, or including that computer science requirement in 8th grade course. partially in classroom or online. We've talked about it being a high school online course, and we've also talked about it being an in-person, partially online course at the high school. So we're weighing the cost of all those options, but we just want to make sure that as that bill makes its way through the legislature, whatever comes of it, we're prepared for.
Next, discussion about policy 5602. I don't know how to say the word Narcan, but it's Noxalone.
Yep. Yes, that's close enough. Narcan is the product that we're talking about, and basically Nebraska state statute passed at 28-470 that a board hereby permits the storing, administration, and implements of Naxalone, also known as Narcan, in school, so long as the storing, administration, and implementation complies with all legal requirements in the best interest of student health. And the superintendent is hereby designated the authority to develop rules and regulations to handle and administer Naxalone in the event of a suspected opioid overdose or in other emergency situations that require prompt attention. So Narcan is a drug that counteracts the effects of an overdose, and it's one of those things that it's sad that in today's society that we in schools have to have Narcan present in our buildings, but you never know what is going to happen, and so we're better off prepared. We've had training for administrators, staff, nurses, and everybody. Our SROs are trained in the use of this, so we have provided training to make sure that and everybody knows that where it's located in the event that it's needed.
And Mr. Alexander will talk about policy 6212, assessments, academic content standards.
There's really not a whole lot to talk about with this policy except for it refers to the updates of the standards that as they get updated by the state, then we have to update them accordingly. So it's just a change in years more than anything. And it pertains specifically to language arts standards, math standards, science standards, and social studies standards. Those are the 4 key areas that we want to make sure that we're up to date with in terms of the state and their timeframes.
The next discussion will be about policy 6921, seizure safe schools.
So in accordance with state statute 79-320-01 to 3207, and as a result of LB 639 that went through the legislature, we're required to create a policy to comply with the Seizure Safe School Act. And basically the nuts and bolts of this act is that we provide training for all certified staff and administration and anyone that is in a school that there would be a student who has an identified susceptibility to seizures. So parents do report those to us, and so once that is indicated in the student's record and the nurse is aware of that, then it's necessary to provide that training. So basically, we do have students in our schools that are susceptible to seizures, whether it's epileptic or other types of seizures. We need to be prepared for that. So we do have this policy that we're recommending be put in place, and it's fairly specific as to what it requires, and also requires the training to be put in place additionally. And our nurses, I can't commend them enough for the work that they've provided in training our staff.
And the final discussion item will be about policy 8345, procedures during meetings.
This is just the policy that reflects procedures during board meetings and in honor of the Open Meetings Act, making sure that board members will not be using electronic devices to communicate with the public, as that would be subject to the Open Meetings Act, and want to make sure that that's not taking place. So there is a process in place for people to come speak at board members, or come speak at board meetings to board members, and we just want to make sure that that process is honored, and if they do want to come speak, that they do so through the process that's laid out for them, and not through phones or text messaging or anything like that.
Thank you. We'll now move on to the action portion of the meeting. First, do I have a motion for the approval of the 2023-24 school calendar?
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 approve the 2023-24 school calendar.
A second?
Second.
Discussion?
Okay,
Dr.
the
Nielsen.
calendar is in front, or the calendar is the same one that was brought to the board at the committee of the whole in February. Nothing has changed at this point in time. We did look at it again just to make sure all of our dates were right and accurate and everything lined up. So when we look at that calendar, we're looking at starting August 10th and then looking at dismissing that third week, the third full week of May. And the calendar has 2 snow days built in. The other piece that we did add was that day after Thanksgiving break. So the 27th would be a staff day. Only students would stay at home. And we did adjust the February Professional Development Day, moving that to April on the 26th to allow for transition meetings to occur and those pieces to prepare us for the following year. Are there any questions about the current calendar or the 23-24?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions? Any discussion?
Do you know, and it's not a question, it's just a statement, the last 2 years I've abstained from voting for the calendar. This year I'm going to vote no, and the reason being it is the #1 consistent complaint that I get from parents regarding child care and kids getting out early. And I think, after 3 years we probably should have looked at it and made some adjustments sooner than later, but I will vote no on the calendar.
Any other discussion? Your votes, please. Five to 1, motion passes. Do I have a motion to designate the NSEA representative?
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 designate Eric Trusty to replace John Zimmerman to serve as one of the district's representatives on the Board of Directors of the Southeast Nebraska Education Agency.
A second?
Second.
Mr. Alexander?
Yeah, so just a brief update. As you know, the SNEA board is the board that is responsible for the actual building of the school and the project that we have in the PK5 elementary. And so we have the ESU 5 board members, Dr. McNiff and Jan that are representing them. And then we also have our bylaws state we need to have 3 members from this board on that. So that we never really know exactly how much we're going to have to meet throughout the course of the year, but we're going to try and meet quarterly, and we'll have that quarterly meeting coming up soon. So we need to get someone appointed from the board to do that, and Eric volunteered, so that'd be good.
Is there discussion? If not, your votes, please. Motion passes 6-0. And then the superintendent report, Mr. Alexander.
Basically, just a little bit. First of all, I just want to say congratulations to all of our winter sports teams. Riley, it's been a blast watching you this year, and it's your team. It's been great. We're excited to see how the season finishes out. Our boys basketball team's done phenomenal. Wrestling, we have speech that's taking place. Wrestling qualified 11 of 14 athletes. So that's phenomenal. We have speech taking place. As I walk in the door tonight here at the administration building, we have flag corps practices going on in the gym. There is something happening all the time, and our students are busy. But it has been truly an honor to watch our kids participate and work hard and represent their communities. And it was nice this weekend to be able to see one of our former students be part of a Super Bowl team. So that was an awesome thing too. And I think that does speak volumes that it doesn't matter where you're from, like Mr. Jansen said. Big dreams can happen if you dream big. So keep that in mind, Riley. That's all I have for tonight.
Thank you. The next regular meeting of the Board of Education will be March 13th, 2023 at 7 p.m. in the Administration Building. The Committee of the Whole meeting will be on February 23rd, 2023 at 6 p.m. in the Administration Building. An agenda for the meeting, which shall be kept continually current, is readily available for public inspection at the Superintendent's office during normal business hours. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move that the Board of Education of District 15 adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Your votes, please. Motion passes 6-0.